Today we're looking in Chapter 28, Section 1, Post-War Social Changes, primarily impacting women's rights and cultural movements globally as well as in the U.S. That being said, the first term we're to analyze, flapper, Miss Sandy.
Young liberated woman in the new jazz era.
Very good, which is the 1920s. So if you hear the jazz era, just know we're the 1920s. It's also called the Roaring 20s, for those of you familiar with that term. Prohibition, Miss Rady.
Ban on the manufacture, the sale of alcohol.
Very good. One thing that you guys need to understand is that this does not include religious ceremonies such as like communion, okay? Because obviously we don't want to extend our hand into religious restrictions. Okay? Speakeasies. Mr. Sullivan?
Illegal bars.
Very good. Now, a speakeasy, a lot of these are located in the back of your butchers, in the back of the like barber shop, places like that. You'd have to know the password, the secret knock, as well as several people inside the speakeasy to even gain access. Okay, these are highly, highly secret because essentially when you attend one, you're breaking federal law. Harlem Renaissance. Ms. Rady?
African American cultural awakening.
Very good. Begins in New York. Psychoanalysis. Silverhorn.
The study of how the mind works.
Very good. As far as treating mental disorders, make sure you have Freud with that as well. So we want to give him some credit for his theory and field. Okay, now this was a major rejection, or excuse me, a shock to society because traditionally speaking, how can we study anything if you're essentially knocked out or sleeping? All right, people were not ready for that type of science, but here we are. Abstract. Mr. Sullivan?
Style of art composed of lines, colors, and shapes.
Very good. And then one thing with this, so we have the actual style here, lines, colors, and shapes, but sometimes we don't even know what it's about. Okay, and there's an example on page 889 in your textbook if you'd like to see that. All right, you could have a theme or title it, you know, the patron's dog, and it looks nothing like an animal whatsoever. But nonetheless, this is abstract art, so that's why it's beautiful. Dada, Ms. Rady?
Artistic movement in which artists rejected tradition and produced works that often shocked the viewers.
Very good. Revolt against civilization founded in Paris. Surrealism. Final term. Mr. Sullivan.
Artistic movement that attempts to
Portray the workings of the unconscious mind. Make sure we have that. Anyone know a famous surrealist painter? Alex?
I don't.
Anyone ever heard of Salvador Dali? Senor Hilligan's be able to show you. He has a whole book of his works.
Oh.
Maybe you've seen the paintings where it's got like the melting clocks and stuff like that. That's what we're looking at as far as surrealist art. Now again, this will be available later. Also, it's the terms from your PRs, so we are going to keep moving. Okay. Science. Ms. Robinson.
Albert Einstein introduced his theory on relativity. He argued that measurements of space and time are not absolute. Fleming accidentally discovered a type of non-toxic mold that prevented bacteria, which he called penicillin. Freud pioneered psychoanalysis, which is a method of studying how the mind works and treating mental disorders.
Good. We have a few different categories here. Marie Curie, radioactivity. She's going to found the field that's eventually going to lead us to the nuclear warhead. Albert Einstein, theories of relativity as far as space-time continuum, and basically saying that none of that is absolute, which is a shock to society. And then Sigmund Freud, studying of the unconscious mind as far as behaviors, all of which is known as psychoanalysis. Excellent job. Art and architecture. Ms. Donahue.
Pablo Picasso invented Cubism and helped inspire Surrealism. Kandinsky and Klee invented abstract art, which is lines, colors, and shapes. And the Bauhaus school influenced architecture by blending science and technology with design.
Very good. Now, one thing as far as how the Bauhaus is going to go about shocking society would actually be the buildings that you all are pretty familiar with now, utilizing more glass and steel rather than, you know, what a traditional house or a traditional building might look like. Has anyone ever seen the U of M School of Business?
Yeah.
Beautiful building.
That is huge.
It's massive, number one, and it's almost all glass with orange steel girders running through it. Okay, that would be an example of the Bauhaus school during this time period compared to, you know, the traditional brick and mortar like our high school is. All right. Any questions thus far? This is one of my favorite pictures of Mr. Einstein. Yes, that's actually him. Okay, one of the best things about Albert Einstein was his personality, as well as his drive within his field. He's also one of the individuals that is going to be escaping Nazi Germany during this time period. So had that movement of World War II, pre-World War II conditions not existed, we may have never been blessed with his sciences in the United States. But fortunately for us, we are, and he's going to help us ultimately solve that war.
That's awesome.
Okay. These are examples of your art between Cubism and Surrealism. For example, here, you look at this. Clearly, you can tell that this work from Picasso portrays a face. Okay. We understand that this is a guitar. Not really sure what's going on here.
Looks like a...
Okay. But this is the style of art that's being produced. For example, a lot of people joke at art saying, well, you could draw a line and then just a random circle and say, that's the divinity coming forth. It's in the mindset of the artist. Okay. Obviously, these are engaging, more so than just a simple shape and a line drawn together. But ultimately speaking, take the perspective of an elder in society who you are used to art featuring, either realist pictures of you all working at your jobs or religious pictures of, various icons of Christianity. And then this comes up, all right, of heads being sewn together and a massive hand appearing through a window. You're probably going to say, what is that artist on? Okay? Not necessarily what were they thinking, but what were they on while doing that. Okay? This is why society is going to be like, whoa. I mean, look at this. This is the stuff people have from their imaginations, but that's the subconscious mind, is your imagination. Obviously, everything you dream up, unicorns fighting dragons isn't reality, but it's reality in your mind. Okay? Continuing on. Literature. Ms. Clear.
Lost in Faith, T.S. Eliot, who published The Wasteland. The Inner Mind, Virginia Woolf, who published the novel Mrs. Dalloway. And The Harlem Renaissance, an African-American cultural awakening, who had James Weldon Johnson.
Perfect. Absolutely. Popular culture. Ms. Vinton.
During the Jazz Age, radio was tuned into the new sounds of jazz, and during the Prohibition, many Americans supported the ban of alcoholic beverages.
Very good, very good. Society. Ms. Donahue.
Okay, the Flappers were rebellious Jazz Age women, and Jazz Age was a freewheeling lifestyle.
Very good. Okay, the other item I want you to have here is the progress for women's rights. Okay, though it is somewhat limited in the 1920s, you are going to earn the right to vote, known as what?
Suffrage.
Women's suffrage, very good. Access to higher education and admittance into fields such as science and art, i.e. Marie Curie. Okay, so there is a great wealth of progress. But at the same time, though you are able to participate in new and exciting opportunities as far as your job, in many circumstances you're still going to be paid much less than your male counterparts, even if you're more qualified. Okay, so many people would argue, well, the fact that you're able to hold that job is progress, whereas others would argue, yes, it is, but we're still treated as second-class citizens or second-class laborers. Continuing on, objectives. And again, this will be all available later for those of you who need to catch up. Objective number 1, identify the new ideas that revolutionary science and thought. Mr. Welch.
Einstein created the theory of relativity, which is E equals mc squared.
Okay.
Freud, he discovered psychoanalysis, which is the study of the unconscious mind. And Fleming discovered penicillin, which changed the world of treating infections.
Very good. And the only other one that you could have had here that would have been prominent, because you only need 3 of these as well. So as you're copying these down, pick your favorite 3. Okay. The only other one that you could have had would have been Marie Curie with radioactivity, as far as atoms are not solid and indivisible, thus allowing us to understand further the fields of fusion and fission as far as matter modification. And again, like I said, eventually leading to the nuclear sciences and the nuclear warhead. Okay, describe the artistic and literary trends that emerged in the 1920s. And again, in parentheses, you only need 2 pieces of evidence. But if you have more, provide more. Miss McGinney.
Okay, novels, poetry, plays, and memoirs, literature, and the Harlem Renaissance.
Good, good, good. Here we're going to start with art, and unfortunately you do need all of this, okay? Because we're taking a great wealth of information and compartmentalizing it into a simple bullet point. So we have all of these things: abstract style of art, Dada, surrealism, and the architectural style of the Bauhaus, challenging traditional art and architectural forms. Okay? Society's not used to that, thus it's foreign. To some people, that's a positive thing. To others, the more entrenched and traditional portion of society, it can be scary. Literature featured movements such as the loss of faith in society, as we've covered before. Okay? T.S. Eliot, Ernest Hemingway. And the exploration of subconscious mind, Virginia Woolf. Okay? More fantasy-based. If you want to understand this, you could say it's more fantasy-based. Okay? Explain how women's lives changed after World War I. 4 pieces of evidence. Mr. Hartman.
Women elected to public office, right to vote, washing machines, vacuums, canned goods, sports, and new job opportunities and flappers.
And those are the labor-saving devices that he was discussing there. As far as washing machines, consider having to wash all of your family's clothes by hand. Okay, using a washboard. Holy smokes, that's a whole day. Okay, whereas now you can put a load in, you can tend to other things around the house, do whatever you got to do. Many women pursued new and exciting careers, so job opportunities as well as women's suffrage. Now, let's analyze flappers really quick here. Can anyone describe that revolt and how this would be done then? Because you guys will laugh compared to how you all operate now. Sandy?
Like shorter, like dresses.
How short?
Like knee length, I think.
If your ankle is exposed.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically, you know, if you've ever worn a pair of shorts, you're a flapper. Consider that. If you go out in public with your ankle exposed, which why if you watch older movies, you see the woman stick her leg out and then pull up her skirt or dress, whatever she has, to show her leg. Obviously, a guy in the movie will pull up and then try to pick up the person there. What else do we have here? Ms. Schneid?
Cut hair.
Cut hair. Very good. If you have short hair, also known as the bob, which maybe you've seen in movies from like the 50s, shorter hair is a revolt against society. How about this one? Going on a date without parental escort. Meaning you, you and whomever you're courting at the time, because that's what that's called. You're not dating, you're courting. Would go out to dinner alone without mom and dad sitting at the same table with you and doing everything with you. Okay? These women were basically father's worst nightmares at the time. So consider your actions now compared to then. An exposed ankle, short haircut, and going on a date by yourself with whomever you're dating.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? That's shocking compared to now. Which is why Mrs. Spence started with that prompt as far as societal changes between the more traditional portion of society to right now.
What happened if, like, your ankles were showing though?
Depends on your parents, to be honest. Okay, you wouldn't be facing necessarily like breaking laws, but your family would be looked down upon. Langer?
What if you wore socks?
Still though, if your skirt's that high, okay, according to parents at the time, you're sending a message. All right? That being said, homework is that first sheet that I provided for you as far as the next PR. Homework packets are coming out. Miss Clays and I will pass those out. You know what you have to do for tomorrow.